have you just one thought on the Jontay Porter thing? Just like,
Sure.
and obviously, like, he obviously made like a huge mistake. He's a young dude. Like, I gotta feel for him a little bit, right? Just like the moral
How long
high
did he
horse.
get banned for, by the way? Yeah.
He got banned for life. For life. Like, it's like Jontay Porter, like, and like Donald Sterling, like, again, the for life treatment here from Adam Silver.
Right.
It's just insane. But like the moral high horse that people have gotten on now, as it regards to one specific thing with Jontay Porter, which is, I think Woj tweeted this, like, oh, and the most damning thing of all, Jontay Porter bet against the Toronto Raptors, his own
he's
team.
Smart.
I was gonna say, like, really? Like, that's the worst thing, that he bet against the Raptors. To me, that shows that he's intelligent, that he has a brain. You don't take a rocket scientist to see that the Raptors were one of the worst teams in the league last year, a rocket scientist or the 15th guy off the bench. To me, that shows Jontay Porter is hashtag one of us, who's able to identify how bad this team was and was betting against them. Like, oh, and it's actually, no, you know what's, no, it's not that he's subbing out of games to try and cash same-game parlays for $1 million. Right. No, that's not the worst thing. That's not the worst thing. The worst thing is that he bet against a team that won 25 games this season. I mean, that's what we're doing here, people. Like,
yeah, they lost their draft pick. It was protected. They had to lose to keep the draft pick. I knew that. Other people knew that.
Damning.
This was not inside information. He's probably sitting there like, yeah, we have to lose to keep our draft pick. I think we're going to lose tonight. Yeah, that's a pretty informed opinion based on the very limited information that was out there that they're trying to lose, that we all knew that anyway, because the draft protections are all publicly available. Yeah, it's like, what was worse, betting on the Raptors to lose or faking a stomach virus 4 minutes in to hit an under? Right? It's just like, what? Let's put up that BetQL poll. Let's see how that one does. Right?
I imagine like Bob Costas like reading that Woj tweet and throwing Fine China against the wall in protest. Like, oh my, how could he do this? How could he bet against a terrible team that's trying to lose, bet on them to lose? To me, that's like, it's almost like he shouldn't be banned for life because of that. He should be banned for like 5 years and get to come back because he bet against the Raptors, because it shows he's intelligent, bet against his terrible team.
Smart guy. Also, he tried to have somebody place an $80,000 same-game parlay on his unders. So, I don't, you tell me what's going on here. And yeah, it's a bizarre story. Obviously, like, intersects with us in that it's about betting on sports. Also, like, all of the specifics of it could not be farther removed from, like, my life and how I bet and, like, what I do. And, like, I'm trying to, like, because I saw somebody tweeted, like, how does the book let you bet $80,000 on an under, which is like a whole separate conversation about like VIP accounts and limits and stuff. Like, there are so many layers to this. I'm just like, yeah, like it's just a crazy story. Like, people want to make it about something. Like, this is a microcosm of blank increase in betting in society now that it's legalized. Like, young people's access to betting as like a road to degeneracy and addiction and all this stuff. And like, there are probably smart conversations to have. This is like a bench guy on the Raptors, who, by the way, was like a kind of like a finance bro also, like gave out recommendations for stocks and other investments and bets. Like, this was a pretty slippery slope, as it turned out, that happened to get into this. Like, it's pretty much like this is going to happen all the time. The idea that like now this is going to be the scourge of this.
Well, that's what everyone says now. Jontay Porter was the first.
Yeah.
But he won't be the last. How are you choosing to bet NBA Finals most valuable player here, Ken? You gave some of the methodology there in the last segment. But best player on best team usually wins. The Iguodala, an outlier.
Absolutely. So I think, you proceed, obviously, like if you're going to bet someone who's not the best player, you better have a damn good reason to want to do it. I think most of the teams in the tournament present with a really obvious option of a player that would be not the winner, but the most likely by a lot finals MVP. Embiid with the Sixers, Giannis when healthy for the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, these are almost 1-to-1 kind of players for the teams that they play for. Then you have your teams where it's kind of
won.
Right. So I think then you have your teams where it's split a little bit. LeBron or Davis if the Lakers win would be a good one for that. Durant or Booker if the Suns win would be another good one for that. So you have these teams that are kind of split. I think my problem here is like I don't think any of those teams are going to win, so it becomes kind of like a moot point. I mean, I guess the Clippers are a little interesting. Like it doesn't have to be Kawhi, but it probably would be. The way I would approach it is just like don't get caught up in the names. Just what teams do you like? And then is this market interesting for those teams? Like, do the teams first. Because otherwise you're going to be like, wow, that player's like 50 to 1. Be like, yeah, that's because the team's 50 to 1. So, like, that's why he's 50 to 1. And the two teams that are most interesting in order would be Denver and Boston for me to win the title. They're the two favorites, obviously. I like Denver much more to win the title, but I think Boston presents as like the safety net. Hey, like they're a team that is so good, those teams tend to win the title, and Denver had an injury or got eliminated, so by process of elimination, Boston wins. Denver's NBA Finals MVP market is extremely uninteresting. It's Jokic with 99% of the time they win, he wins, and Murray at a pretty big price. And you could bet Murray for a couple bucks if you want. I think it's like it could be a fun sweat, I guess, to be like, well, I have him, 30, 40, 50 at different places. And if I think they're going to win the title, he played really well last year. I don't know what the finals MVP vote was. I think he got a couple, but I think Jokic won pretty easily. I'd have to go back and check on that to know for sure how the actual voting went at the end of the series. But like, Jokic is thought of as like, if anything, even more of a legendary player than he was last year when he won the title. And the way I frame it is, it can happen. It just seems either as likely or even less likely. Jokic was unanimous. You just wrote in the chat, so there you go. Tough to beat a player like that and win. So that leaves us with, like, by far, I think the most interesting team in this market is Boston. And I think a lot of people will look at the Celtics and maybe how they looked at like the 49ers in the Super Bowl, where, the quarterback is the favorite, but like really it should be these other guys are like more likely to win. That's not a perfect comparison, but you get the idea. It's a team that's playing in the title game that people didn't like the favorite to win MVP for that team, and they liked other players instead. My problem here is I actually think the valuable bet is Tatum, because I think if they win, there's been so much discourse and this stuff gets into the voting big time, so much discourse this year about, is he really an MVP candidate? Can he make the leap? Can they finally win? Every first take, undisputed NBA countdown topic you could imagine, it's all about him. So even though I don't think he's a typical best player on a title team, if they did win, I think he would win, and I think he would probably win more often than this price. So you kind of throw this in, this all the talk today so far kind of goes in the same bucket, right? Which is, look, I think Denver's the most, I don't even know if they're going to win. I think they're the most likely team to win by a lot. I would be surprised if they didn't win. But if they don't win, I do think Boston will win. Just to be clear, like, I don't think Tatum's going to win. I don't think Boston's going to win. But if Denver doesn't win, I think Boston's the next most likely team. There are lots of ways to play Boston to win. And we talked about finals exactas in the first hour. I think that's by far the best way to do it, because I really don't think they can beat Denver. And if they see another team, I think they'll win. And another way to play it would be to bet Tatum instead, or bet someone else. But I really think this isn't that weird. Like, he's not a great best player on a title team, but he is the team's best player, and he is definitely the most likely player to win, I think by a lot, if they end up actually winning the title. Well, this could be like a pretty big egg on my face kind of a prediction. I love Cleveland in this series. It's like my favorite bet by far. It's not even close. I laid games. I bet them to win the series. Can't wait to do the show the next couple weeks as the Magic win 86-82, and Donovan Mitchell already talks about the next team he wants to play for. Yeah.
If it makes it, maybe it'll be Orlando. If it makes you feel better, it makes you feel worse. I said the same thing on Monday, that I love the Cavs and I think they're going to win like 4-1.
Yeah, it just this was before I read that article while I was on vacation. Just because I just looked at the two teams, I go, I think this is not representative of how they played the entire year, and is much more representative of like how they played the last 2 weeks. And we know historically, like, I didn't have to look, I knew this already, like, how you close is so irrelevant to how this all goes. That we have had champions, conference champions, teams that make deep playoff runs that all suck the last like 6 weeks of the season. It happens all the time. The season's really long. The games end up mattering less. Even if you want to argue the team is playing for something, they inherently know the season is long and they're playing for less. So it just like, you can't fall in love with these like the late bloomer kind of closing team, which we do in college basketball. It's not as pronounced in the NBA, but there are lots of us. Like, I mean, the Warriors won a title. I think the Warriors in the second half of a season one time won like 41% of their games and won the NBA title. I mean, embarrassingly bad stuff, and still won. So I try not to. Now look, if it's a health thing, like maybe Mitchell's just not there, that's different. Kawhi Leonard, Giannis, like this is a player availability question. This is not a how you close the season question. But if everyone's playing, then like I have to think they're way more likely to win. Now we bring in the article that we read the other day because we did all the other series the same thing. Maybe Donovan Mitchell gets like a third team All NBA nod. Maybe he doesn't. Otherwise, neither team has top end talent in terms of this year's All NBA that would be reflected in it. Donovan Mitchell's the best player in this series, and I don't think it's close yet, but it'll be close eventually because Banchero is going to be awesome. Playoff experience, and this is the second thing that really matters, and this is where teams like Orlando come up woefully short all the time, and that's why they don't ever win series in the playoffs. Teams like this, they are by a mile the least experienced team in the postseason. It's like them and the Thunder, which is funny because one's a 1 seed and one's in this kind of a series, but the Thunder are much better and have a much better best player who's like ready to win playoff series. Magic just aren't ready yet. They're not even close. This is like a have fun, get to game 6, game 7, lose kind of a series. Now I hope it's less than that, but that's like the best case scenario, I think. And then net rating, some of the this season metrics end up being a toss up, even when considering that the Cavs had a lot of injuries. So I know you're laying a big price. It seems it seems disgusting to want to click the button. I'm betting the Cavs. We watched this team the last month. And I'm betting them at this price. That's what I'm doing, and I am. And it's because a lot of the things that tend to be true in the postseason kind of directly apply to this series. And I think I know why I'm getting a break on the price, and I'm okay to click the button knowing that, hoping the Cavs play a little bit better than what they've shown us.